Amazing job, y'all. The chat's going crazy, y'all. The chat's going crazy, y'all. The chat's going crazy. Um, Let me kick it over. We're going to start a Q&A session with our artists. Do you all have any questions for the Uprising about what you just witnessed? Drop them in. Just will pitch. And
yeah, so if there is any questions for amazing youth artists, please feel free to drop it in the chat. And Coach Jess and I will be monitoring, actually, and also Randall, if we miss anything, can you be our backup person to let us know, because we don't want to miss your questions. But this is the time to ask the youth artists any questions that are on your mind since watching and engaging in the film. Yeah, feel free to drop it in the chat.
And while we are waiting for some questions to kind of come in, why don't, Akila, you want to introduce everybody on the team?
Yeah, so hey y'all, I'm going to introduce our DGU company members, and just wait when I say your name. I want to shout out Amaya Smith, Alexia Morgan, Amelia Gasquille, Amira Mumford, Asia Benjamin, Christiana Williams, Diana Davis, Elise Barnes, Gabrielle Bankson, Jaslyn Tolliver, Jahari Smith, Jahan Pierre, Kamaria Gardner, Mariah Million, Yasmin Hawthorne, Daniel Gray, and to honor some of those who might not be here right now and who were a part of the company, we want to honor Laria Renard, Dan Lowell Thomas, Renisha Brown, and last but not least, Melanie Martinez.
So we got a couple of questions in the chat. The first one that I saw was from Breeze. What was it like taking movement made for the stage to a video platform?
So anyone come off of mute and can answer.
I can answer that. Well, half of it. I would say for me, for experience, coming from a dance studio to us coming on Zoom, it was like, it made it a bit more challenging, but I like challenges. That's what makes it fun. So I guess for me, I didn't mind doing it. It was just, you know, me trying to move stuff out the way of my small room so I can dance in it. But other than that, I think it was, I pretty much had fun.
Anyone else want to jump on that? The next
Well, it was okay for me. It was some days frustrated because like you have to balance time to do this, and also like it was like a timing thing for me. And the room, like Empress said, like you have to have a clean space. Like when a video is made, it's not like, you know, dirty in the background and stuff like that. So it was mainly frustrating, but in the end, y'all can see it's good. Like it looked great.
The next question.
Go ahead.
There's somebody, Amira, go ahead, share.
I'm just gonna say real quick, it was a learning experience and also kind of like funny at times because you had to make sure your phone was charged, you had to make sure you had the lighting and like modify the choreography every now and then. But overall, the experience was just kind of fun.
Can y'all tell us a little bit about the process and how you adapted your work and vision when shelter in place began? So when the quarantine started.
It was mostly having a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of text messages, a lot of can you send me this, can you send me that, but also really trying to make sure how can our audience receive this message, how can the audience receive this particular song or this particular dance movement when it's not live. You know, there are a lot of things and aspects that go into a live performance that just couldn't go into our show, but we made the best of that. I mean, we were at home, so we utilized our home. Sometimes we was dancing in the kitchen, we was dancing in the backyard, we was doing poems in the street, neighbors looking at you, like all that kind of stuff. Really utilizing home for what it is, and taking time to recognize what is going on in your home and using that reflection towards this new type of art form you're making on Zoom.
Nice. Okay. I think you just answered the next question, which was around usually performances, family and friends are not always a part of the behind the scenes. So how was it being in your own home? How was it performing, rehearsing, practicing, and recording in your own home?
I could answer that. Oh, so okay, I guess I'll go. I would say, you know, because I'm a poet, it was it's been a while since I've had to memorize something and have it ready to present in front of like a crowd or whatnot. So having to memorize and put it in front of camera, or maybe I'll have it taped somewhere and I try to make it look like I'm not reading it. Just little things like that. I have people in my house, we're all like artistic people, so they always help me what rhymes with this, what sounds better with this, or sometimes it'll be something that just clicked at the top of my head. But you know, I feel like it's just nice being in your own house and having like people that get you and understand what you're trying to say and possibly be like some sort of help to what you're trying to create. So that's how it went for me.
This question is really, I thought about this a lot as well. It asks, the themes that we were working with are so important. So how hard and they're taxing to like think about and work through. So how did y'all care for yourselves and each other in the process?
For the most part, it was really cracking jokes. Like DSC is like we just a funny group of people, like taking that time to really find joy and the happiness within it. And sometimes it'd be hard to find because we take note. We also had to deal with school stuff and the things going on in our community, but also taking the time to dance and do what we love. But what really kept us going, I would say for the most part, is like the community of our group, like texting each other, oh, we're on a Zoom call, come on, or making certain posts, or, you know, acknowledging each other, you know, what's going on in our community, what we're trying to fundraise for, all that type of stuff. But really for the most part, taking those times to smile and crack jokes during everything that's going on right now, because a lot of the times, you know, that's where we can find our solace, through laughing and through joy.
I enjoyed the laughter. This next question is about forward movement. So if the city of New Orleans was placing in your charge, the charge of young people, what would be the first action you take?
I think if it was like in like, did it ask me to put all you charge or just us
Your robot.
singularly? If it was just us singularly,
Wait.
I would say we would do what they're trying to
you guys hear me?
You kind of cutting in and out.
Can you hear me?
Breaking up a little bit.
Hello?
It's kind of hard for us to hear you.
If you want to write it in the chat too, Christy, and I can just say it, or Coach Jess can read it out. Anybody else?
Can you guys hear me?
I'll repeat the question one more time. If the city of New Orleans was placed in your charge, the charge of young people, what would be the first action you take?
I feel like the first action, well, first, I think one of the first things we would have to do is make sure that everyone was taking this seriously. Because, you know, a lot of times young people aren't taken seriously because we're not wise enough, we haven't lived long enough to actually understand what's going on. But the actual action that I think we would take is spread the word, acknowledge it, make sure that everyone knows that it's there, make a plan, and then, you know, I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah, make sure that nobody's blind to what we're trying to change.
Yeah, just to kind of go off of what Amira said, I think the first step for us would be to educate, and then we would go into strategizing. You know, first we have to know that everybody knows that this is a problem, this is going on. Then after that, we make some action happen.
Okay. Christy, I didn't receive your text. This, yes, please ask the other question.
So I see here one, what is your process for developing thematic content? So like, I'm assuming that means like, how do we come up with the themes every year? This is a question, but I'll break it down. You wanna answer that?
Me?
You wanna answer it?
I think this, I would love for the youth to jump in on this. But I do think there is kind of a mixture of things in the way that we attack how we choose the topic that's most important. I think this year it came from a conversation, and I want to highlight Akila because she was pushing this from the beginning. She was like, we need to talk about gentrification, it's happening. So I would love for the youth to kind of like share their perspective of how we choose the theme each year.
I would say how we choose the theme each year is we gather around and we just all start venting. Vent about how we feel about this happening, how we want to change this, how we want our voices to be heard on this. And then until one topic gets chosen, and then it's like each of us put in our own 2 cents of that specific topic to the point where it's like, it's a piece of everybody in this huge piece. Piece of me, piece of Akila, piece of Christiana, piece of everybody. And I feel like that's how our shows pretty much roll. How even though it's all of us talking, we each have a chance to say something or show something on how we feel. And it all just connects really well. So that's like a summary of how our topics get chosen. To me, at least. I think.
Anyone want to add to that?
I think what's really special about choosing a topic this year is that this year we got to take some workshops with the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond, and going along with Empress, talking about each other's stories and, you know, sharing our experiences in our neighborhoods. But along with that, this year we really got to dive deep into what it means to have an anti-racist outlook on trying to dismantle these systems, especially, you know, things going on with gentrification and housing displacement. Like this year, from the teachings of PSAT, we was like, all these different connections are being made. Like, this is how this system affects this system. This is how this system benefits from this system, and how it, you know, it rests upon the backs of us. Like, really making those connections and really sharing experiences with each other, because a lot of the times in a room, one person will share their experience in education and then relate it to their own experience at their homes. So this year was really special because we really got to know more about each other and more about each other's neighborhoods, but also develop an anti-racist outlook.
Thank you for that. Since we mentioned PISAB, I would like to shout out the fact that one of the co-founders of the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond is in the house, Mr. Ronald Chisholm. He did leave a comment for y'all. He said that it was great, basically, and applauded all of the hard work that y'all did. So that's great. I do want to circle back to Christiana, what Christy was saying about the question that was related to like, what would y'all do if youth were given the opportunity to be in charge? So Christy said, I would say, along with acknowledging us, I think it would also be to get all the youth's voice and make sure everyone gets what they have to say out, so we can end youth voices being neglected or dismissed. And then Akila also responded to that question that she would take down the rest of the Confederate monuments and fix the health disparities in the OPSB Orleans Parish prison because of COVID-19 and abolish juvenile prison systems. Thank y'all for adding to that question.
There's a good question around how does COVID-19 fit into the conversation around gentrification in New Orleans?
Anybody want to answer that?
Okay, so I'll take that one. Basically, we talked a lot about how COVID-19 impacts and the gentrification of New Orleans, and that low-income places are more affected by COVID-19 in the sense that they have less testing sites. And since there's less testing sites, there's less tests. So people don't actually know if they have COVID-19. Also, lower income places, workers like in Walmart or fast food restaurants have to go to work. So there's no other option. They're more likely to be exposed to the virus because that's all they have to do. They have to keep a roof over their head. You know, rent is raising because of property value and stuff like that. So it's not an option for them to stay in their house and stay safe. Also resources, there's a lack of resources. We talked about in the East, specifically, there's a single Walmart, but people are deciding to go to different grocery stores and places that are not near their houses so that they can pick up excess of what they need. But for some people, this is the only place they have to go to get the things that they need to survive. So it's very big, and it very much coincides with gentrification and this whole entire show.
Anyone else want to add to that? All right, I'm gonna move to another question. If y'all want to add stuff, you can put it in the chat box and we'll come back to it. This is a question from the Q&A section. What are y'all especially proud of in the production?
I'm proud of everything. I'm proud of us. I'm proud how we were able to make lemonade out of lemons. I'm proud that we were able to do this because this is what we do and this is what we love to do. And us as, you know, as young adults and teenagers, us being able to make content, like not content, us make like a video like this, or us writing poems, or us singing, or us dancing, and putting that all together is pretty much what we live for. Because us as young people, we really want to like make a change, and I'm just really proud of me and of everyone, because we were able to do it at the end of the day. So makes us feel that we're like very unstoppable.
I'm proud of the fact that, you know, we started in the studio and then we moved to Zoom and stuff. And like, personally, I thought we're not going to make the same impact because like we're not on stage, but I'm proud of the fact that we really did. And I feel like it turned out like way better than I thought it would, because, you know, being on a screen and stuff, but we made it work. So yeah.
Anyone else?
I like the fact.
Go ahead, Jazz.
Okay, I like the fact that even though we couldn't be in the studio, we still made it work. Through all the poor connections, to everything going on with Wi-Fi and Zoom, like we were able to still do it, and we were able to give off the same impact and even greater, whether it's on the stage or just virtually. We were still able to send out that message, and we were still able to get people to listen to the youth about what's going on in New Orleans and what's going on in the country. So I'm very excited that we were able to come together for that.
Amira, did you want to say something about that?
I was actually gonna pretty much say what Jazz said, so I'm good.
All right. We're gonna take 2 more questions. There are a lot of questions in the chat that we would love to be able to answer all of them, but we don't want to take up too much more time of y'all's evening. But there is one that I would like for y'all to answer. So it's, as advocates, what would you like to see the audience take into conversation with their networks? Y'all want that question again? As advocates, what would you like to see the audience take into conversation with their networks?
Specifically, within the audience, I really do challenge the audience to not let this in here. Do not let this conversation of gentrification and housing displacement in here at the show. And I know there are a lot of, DG, we have a lot of adult supporters, and we appreciate, you know, the love that we do get from older folks, and the support and appreciation that they do give us. But also take the time to notice, you know, acts of voyeurism and within young audiences, and know that yes, we are well spoken, and yes, we are great, but don't let that conversation in there. Older people also have, you know, their own right to be advocates, and their own right, you know, to speak up in their communities. A lot of people say like, oh, young people are going to change the world. Yes, and you're still living too. You still have the ability to change the world with us. Don't let it just lie with us. Don't let the conversation in here in this video performance. There are other ways you can spread awareness and be active about it. When you see gentrification, you know, call it out and see it. You know, contact your local representatives, question your representatives, question your council members, and hold them accountable. Don't let it in here. Don't let it just be acts of voyeurism, you know, towards you. You know, let it be a call to action for us. Be inspired by us for you to take action too. You know, you live in, we live in. Let's try to make it a better place.
I 100% agree with Akila. I would really want the audience to, take it upon yourself to like give that bit of change that can make a huge impact, and we can all try to do the same. You know, as much as we know, we can tweet about it, we can post about it, we can pray, we can do all of that via media, but at the same time, you know, there are times where you have to take action, and there are times where you can't just, you know, we're all tired of being sick and tired. So I just feel like, you know, one, for the audience, don't let the love die. Love is everywhere, even in the most cruel, hateful places, which is this continent. Love is everywhere, so never forget that love. And two, to, you know, don't just stand on the sidelines. Get in the game sometimes. Spread the word around. Do what you got to do. and all of us together as like a united front, we can all like overcome this, you know. People say like liberal this, liberal that, but at the same time, it's all about unity and it's all about force. So I feel like we all can do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
I just want to add on something really quick to what Empress and Akila said. Like gentrification is active, it's constantly happening. When this meeting ends, it's not just going to stop because we brought it up. When you click that leave button and this meeting is over, please don't like turn a blind eye. Please continue to work and add in your voice. Like all of our voices added together will make an impact. And even if you don't see an immediate, what's the word? I'm sorry, an immediate effect or something immediately happening, it takes time, you know? Yeah, that's all.
I want to say that, as you can tell from the film you just watched, this is a very personal issue, and that people need to look into themselves to find their stories with gentrification, because it has affected you. If you have been in the city of New Orleans, it has affected you, it has affected somebody else, it has affected everybody. And so I want you to find your own story and share that story, because I think that's the most powerful thing. It makes it seem real, because it is real, and it makes it reality. So don't just go out and share your stories.
Cool. Thank y'all for sharing that. We're gonna do one more before we start to close out. To the students. So what are ways that we can use art to implement change in our community? What are some ways that we can use art to implement change in our community?
I would say just show it out everywhere. And because when you put yourself out there and you put what you make out there, it's gonna grab somebody's attention. It's gonna grab a bunch of people's attention, and maybe that one somebody or that group of people will want to ride with you. So it keeps growing bigger and bigger until you have this whole team, this whole squad of artists that think like you, that want to move like you. So you're all moving together as one big group. And that's one thing I've learned is like, you know, when I coming into high school and realizing that, yeah, like I know I'm not like other kids. I like to do weird stuff. I'm a weird person. I don't fit the status quo. So like, I realized that that's okay. So the moment you put yourself out there, somebody's gonna look at you and think that's really cool. I want to roll with that person because that person I can deal with. That person is somebody like me that uses what they're good at, what they love to do as their voice. So I would say that's definitely one way. Show it out, put it out.
To piggyback off of what Empress said, like, yeah, just show it out because for art comes from the soul. Art comes from the soul, so nobody else can imitate your soul and your art and your passion. So if you showing it through art, they will already know that you serious and you for real about this subject. And just like how we had the poetry and the dancing, the poetry and the dancing, those wasn't just words, those wasn't just movements. We built off those movements. We were given a prompt and we just built movement off of the prompt we were given. So yeah.
Any last comments to that last question? Anything? Okay. So before we go ahead and close out, we would like to ask Councilperson Jason Williams a question if he's up for it.
I'm up for it. I have a little voice in the room with me, so if you hear a 2-year-old, just ignore him.
Gotcha.
For
Okay.
now, until he's in dancing grounds one day.
Soon. Okay. So this is coming from, I'm combining a couple of questions from the Q&A. So the first piece is, what commitments are you making as a city council person to the young people today to end the harmful effects of gentrification on our communities?
Well, I can tell you that right now, there are things in place that were not in place before COVID-19. After the last time I was with you guys for your last performance, and after you all came and shared with my colleagues, there were some very real takeaways from folks who I don't think necessarily understood gentrification the same way I did, the same way some others did, until they heard it from you all. And one of the few places that I really see a role for the city council is to create a form of sustainable tourism. The idea that we're going to stop people from coming to the coolest city in the world, that's not going to happen. But what we have to make sure is that we are not allowing, and I heard somebody say it multiple times today, that voyeurism to prostitute the culture of the community. And so one of the things that I've been working on with some of our culture bearers, Mardi Gras Indians specifically, is a way to take their art and make it a key to the city, right? So imagine a piece, right now if somebody gets a key to the city, it's a little gold key that you get from a trophy store. But getting our culture bearers to make that thing that they've been making for years for free, that tourists and artists come take pictures of, go back to their homes and sell them for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars with images of us, of our work, of what they do, and make that placard, but have the city pay the Mardi Gras Indians for this work year in and year out to sustain them moving forward. And also create a sustainable tourism package for the Convention Centers Bureau, the CVB, Nolan Company, these hotels. They all owe it to the people that make people want to come here to spend the money, that they are recycling and using those dollars outside of the French Quarter, outside of downtown, throughout the entire city, so that New Orleans East, the Lower Ninth Ward, not just go drive around and see the devastation, but to create tourism packages. Ecotourism also fits very well into that in terms of New Orleans East. That wildlife area, that marshland, is an area that we can use to create new industry, to create new jobs for locals, right? So part of it is making sure that, one, we get some of that tourism dollar that comes in, but making sure that we're creating new industries as we go forward. And one other piece to that is how we deal with water. For a number of years, really my entire lifetime, people were trying to get water away. Just get it in the drains, get it off the streets, get it away. But the First Nation people, the Native Americans who were here, they lived with water. They didn't try to force it out as fast as possible. And so creating new jobs for young people to go in to learn, to teach people how to live with water, re-dredging canals so that water has a place to go instead of our cars and our homes. And then our young people who will learn this craft can take this to other cities and take it to other countries with the skill set that other people just don't have, because they don't have to live in this environment.
Cool. And then we also want to know, what are some ways in which young people can have direct access to city council members and have these voices centered and heard in decisions that directly impact them and their families?
Well, I would just say there is something that anything that happens in this city directly impacts young people, whether or not their name is included in that piece of legislation or in that resolution, because young people are just young citizens. Whether or not they can vote for you or not, we're still working for them, right? So every single council meeting, every single committee meeting, there's a place and input for young people. There's no age requirement for giving public comment at City Hall. And right now our meetings are virtual. You can do it from your home. You can weigh in on any single issue you wish. This past Tuesday, I had Chief Ferguson in to talk about the 8th District Task Force that was basically falsifying a police report to try to send someone to jail, right? And I believe that is something that young people need to be weighing in on, because young people look like me get profiled, right? And so I want them in on that argument and making that case, because every time I've heard from Dancing Grounds, it's always been a very compelling case. And I know that you all can help me move the dial forward.
All right, well,
And
thank
I
you.
will always give y'all time at a city council meeting to present whatever you want to present, whenever you want to present it, and I will not cut it off, because every time you come, whether it was racial profiling, whether it was gentrification, it was of the moment for this city.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those. Thank you for being here with us.
Well, I enjoyed this. This was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, these young people have been working really hard, and so we really wanted to give them the space to be able to talk about their process and their experience during this, because it was not a normal experience, to say the very least. Randall?
Yes, thank you, Jess. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, all the students, and thank you, Councilmember Jason Williams, for your time. I do have an ask of all of our attendees before you bid us adieu. We love to get feedback from you all about what you saw here today. It really informs the work that we will do in the future with and the work the youth will do in the future. And so I'm going to drop a link in the chat for a survey and ask you some questions about what you witnessed today. And please, if you could, right now, take a little bit of time to go through and fill out the survey. And if you feel compelled to enter your email and your name, and once we are able to get back to the studio, we will treat you to a free dance class on Dancing Grounds. So we're going to open right now to go check it out. Stick around though, because after this, I'm going to give you information about the after party for anyone that wants to come and voice their appreciation for the students and have their face seen, so the kids can actually see everybody. Because right now, we can only see each other. We can't see all of y'all. So take some time and check out the survey link and come back in like 3 or 5 minutes when we finish. All right? Ready, set, and click. I see you. I know you clicked it.
One more question. Councilperson mentioned the virtual city council meetings. Can you link us to the link for that, or however y'all are doing that, so that people have direct access to that?
We will absolutely put that in the chat box so people know how to log in. And there's a, you have to get it in by a certain time. We'll put all those parameters in there.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Big up to Mr. Chisholm too. I don't know if he still is.
All right.
I'll let him know.
Let me see. I'm trying to look for some affirmation. Let me see who's all in here. Gotta say hello. Brianna's in here. What's up, Brianna? Oh, I see Denise in here. Junebug's in here. Ooh, Laura and Lee are in. See, nobody's chatting because they're doing this. That's we really appreciate it. See how that works? I feel the survey is being completed. I can hear them. Feels good.
Yeah, don't forget to check out the Give No link. All of the money, or a lot of the money that you donate there, what is it? Any donation up to 100 will be matched. Is that right, Randall?
Yes, every donation up to $100.
Yeah, we want to see this program last way beyond just 2020. We need it to last 10, 20, 30 years from now. So we need y'all to give and to really support these young people because they're working hard. They're committed to this work.